Hello everyone, welcome back to another upload of A Moment of Truth. This is Frederick, of course, and I hope everyone is doing well. Before I begin talking about what I'm going to be getting into today, I want to direct your attention to a video that I did a little while ago, and it's entitled While We Were Sleeping, or While We Were Being Entertained. While we were being entertained. Please watch that video because it's going to be the catalyst of what I'm going to be talking about. Actually, While We Were Sleeping would have been a good title for it also. But anyway, it's going to be the catalyst of what I'm going to be talking about in this video. This is going to be, for sure, a two-part video because of the subject matter that I'm going to be discussing. There may be a part 3 or part 4, but I know for sure there will be a two-parter. Today I'm going to be talking to my people, to my black people. And if you're not black, you can watch it, listen to it yourselves also. You can do that. You don't have to be black to listen to it. If you know your history, you're going to know that these things are true anyway. But this is particularly going to be to my black people today. Just to rehash some history quickly, I hope. Coming out of slavery, that period called Reconstruction, all the way through the Great Depression, through the Jim Crow era, even through the first part of civil rights. The black family was intact. Not only was the black family intact, black people, period, were intact. 80% of the black home had husband, wife, father, mother in it. 80%, approximately, 80%. Through all of those eras and those times, black neighborhoods thrived, black communities thrived, black businesses thrived, black education thrived, and we were good then. Everything was great during those periods. And don't get me wrong, I'm not unaware of the injustices and all of the atrocities that were going on and happening to black people during those times. I'm aware of those things. I acknowledge those things. But in spite of those things, we held on. We supported one another. We stuck to one another. We took care of one another. We looked out for one another, even during those things. We had black homes. We had black neighborhoods. We had black communities. We had black businesses in those black communities. That's what made up a community. Not just the houses, but the businesses, the schools that were there. That's what made up communities. And we had it during those times. We had those things. That was even part of the time where a black child couldn't go down the street and act up, because a black adult down the street knew the child, and that black adult down the street knew the child's parents, and that black adult down the street would whoop that child's behind and then take that child home and then tell the parents of that child, and then the parents of that child would whoop that child's behind, and the parents of that child wouldn't get mad at the other parent or at the other adult up the street, because that's what community does. That's what people do as a people, as a community. Doesn't matter if it's black, white, Hispanic, or whatever you are. That's what community does. Fast forward to about 1964, when the then President Lyndon B. Johnson introduced his Great Society Bill, which was part of the Civil Rights Movement. And that Great Society Bill also included what we know as welfare. And I'm going to say this, and this is probably going to piss off a lot of people, and probably piss off a lot of my black people, but that's okay. Again, look this stuff up for yourself. Research it, dig deeper than just the surface level. Civil rights was the worst thing that ever happened to black people. And I'm going to say it again. Civil rights, which included welfare, was the worst thing that ever happened to black people. And I'm going to explain why. You can come up with more explanations than what I'm going to give you, but here are I believe the two major reasons why. Again, before civil rights came into existence, black people had only black people to stand up with. We stood up with one another, supported one another, looked out for one another. We went to bat for one another. We had black homes, black houses, black neighborhoods, black communities, black businesses, black schools, and probably the most famous or popular black community was Black Wall Street. They had houses, homes, families, schools, and they had black businesses in that black community. And I'm not talking about just small businesses. They had large businesses. They had libraries, they had law firms, they had stadiums, they had airports, owned them, black owned airports, black owned law firms. They were millionaires. And the black dollar stayed in the black community for a very long time before it left out. That's what we had. But enter civil rights. And civil rights said, this is what the powers that be said. And the powers that be, I'm saying the powers that be because I'm not saying white people, and I know that white people are the powers that be. I know that. But all white people are not evil. That would be dumb. That's stupid. Just like all black people are not good. That's dumb and that's stupid. And any of us would be stupid to think so, to think that they are. But the powers that be said, black people, civil rights means that if you guys would just stop sticking together, if you stop upholding one another, if you stop supporting one another, if you stop being a family as a people, we will give you equality. We will work for and fight for your equality so that you can be equal or on par with us. We're gonna make you equal and on par with us. Fight for your equality. Economically, socially, status-wise, we will make you equal. Just change. Change your community and even change the way you look. Stop wearing your own natural hair. You know, stop with the afros. Stop having your own natural hair. Burn it with flat irons and perms and make it look more like ours. And then we'll accept you in our establishments, on our jobs, and we'll help you move up so that you can be equal and on par with us. And welfare. Powers that be said with welfare. Black women, if you would just have babies, don't get married. Just go over to some man's house or let him come over to your place or go to some hotel. If you would just let him get between your legs and impregnate you, and don't get married, we'll take care of you. We will give you a house or public housing, the projects, and we will pay your rent, and we will pay for your food with food stamps. And if you have health issues, we'll give you Medicaid. And if you're old and nasty, we'll give you Medicare. Don't get married. If you would just stay by yourself, don't have or bring a man around, if you would just start thinking and change your mind about your black man, that he's no good, that he doesn't want you and he doesn't want his children, don't want to take care of his children, we'll take care of you. Black man, This is what the powers that be says. Black man, the only thing you need to do is just go knock up your black woman and give her a baby. Give her many babies. And knock up another one and give her babies and become a baby's daddy. That's all you need to do. We'll take care of her. You don't have to be there. You don't need to be there. Don't marry her. We'll take care of her. Those were the two things, and I think the major things that destroyed black people as a whole and as a people. Now, it's not their fault. Certainly, they influenced it. They offered it. They influenced it. But we can't blame them because we didn't have to accept it. We could have said no. No thank you. But thanks, but no thanks. We have been getting along all of this time for 100 some odd years, all of this time, and we've been doing well without it. Thank you. We'd rather continue supporting one another, sticking up for one another. We'd rather continue looking out for one another, taking care of one another. We'd rather keep our own intact communities. Thank you, but no thank you, Mr. Power that be. But we said, yeah, we'll do it. We accepted it. And from 1964 up until now, 2014, 50 years, what progress have we made as a people? We are still looking for equality. And they made that promise 50 years ago. Still talking about equality and fighting for equality. We're still talking about our wages aren't fair on the job. We're still saying we can't move into a white neighborhood, and if we do, then we're getting these crazy looks and they don't want us here. 50 years after civil rights and the promise of equality. And that's just only a little over a generation. A generation is considered 40 years. And we're still looking for it. Still injustices and horrible atrocities happening to black people by the hands of white people. This is surface level stuff. I'm just dealing with surface level stuff right now. So keep that in mind, because I have some deep stuff in the other videos to come. Part 2, part 3, or whatever. And then the family home. Look at the black family home. Before that, approximately 80% of the black home had husband, wife, father, and mother in it. It's 2014, and approximately 80% of the black home doesn't have a father or a mother in it. Children born out of wedlock. And it was the worst thing that ever happened to black people, to us as a black people, as a nation. And I'm going to say something else that's probably, again, going to tick you off, make you mad, make you angry. But all I want you to do is think. Just think. And here's an example. If a president of a company or CEO or whatever they're called, if a president or CEO of a company is brought into the company and they sit in that position, and a year goes by, 2 years, maybe even 3 years go by, and the company goes on a downward spiral, what do they do with the president or the CEO? I think you already know. They fire him. They get rid of him. And I know you know that's true. After just maybe 3 years, maybe, giving him a chance, they fire him. And that's business. if things don't become better, if there's no sign of things, profits, getting better, they fire him. They let him go. We've had 50 years of your black leaders. Jesse Jackson, Al Sharpton, the new breed, some of these new ones that are on, Michael Eric Dyson, all of these people on MSNBC. We've had 50 years of your black leaders in those black leader positions, and we've gotten worse. Every year we've gotten worse. Why are they still in power? Why are they still in position? If when a CEO doesn't fulfill his obligation and make the company better, doesn't increase the profits, doesn't increase sales, why, if after a year, 2, 3 years, there's no turnaround, they're let go and someone else is brought in, why after 50 years are these guys still in position, in power? Do we not think that there's something wrong with that? They need to be let go. They should have been gone. Because you know what? You don't need leaders. That's number one. You really don't. You don't need leaders. You just need a community of people, and particularly men, black men, who are going to stand up and say, look, this is the way it's going to be. We're not going to worry about trying to become equal with white people. And here's the thing, you're not going to. You're not going to become equal with them. They've shown you that not only for the past 50 years, they've shown us that for as long as we've been here. You're still fighting for equality. And black people, again, before civil rights were introduced, they weren't concerned about being equal with white people and equality. They knew better. They knew that it wasn't going to happen. They were concerned about the community, about us taking care of one another, looking out for one another. That's what they were concerned about. But you have your so-called black leaders now who accepted the civil rights and accepted welfare and accepted abortion. And again, I think at the time, before this stuff started, we were like 20%, if I'm not mistaken. If I'm wrong, correct me. But we were about 20% of the population then. Black people were about 20% of the population. We were the number one minority in this nation. But when Roe versus Wade came into effect, 1973, abortion, and again, just 40 years later, we went down to 12% of the population. Black people. 12% of the population in just 40 years. Abortion in the black community, we make up half of them. In the black community, we make up half of the abortion. 12% of the population, but make up half of the abortion. I'm continuing in part 2, surface level stuff.